Can you just guess what exactly happened over here?
So it's actually it is to show a detail of the flower, which is small object, you know, and
Correct.
with very small, very minute uh, elements, the colors and the water drops and all that, which are very minute, very small, right? And when we try to show in full zoom, very close to the eye, with enhancement of the sizes and things like that, right? So
Perfect.
that becomes more clear with those compositional elements. The details are much
Exactly.
more clearer, even though they are very small and minute uh, in nature.
Correct.
So that's where the micro and the macro photography comes into the picture. Generally, for the flowers or very small beetles, insects,
Correct. So
those things.
okay, okay. So here you use the one word that is the microphotography. Correct. So is this particular image will get fall in the microphotography category or not?
Yeah, this will be under the
We can
macro
use in the
photography.
macro.
Macro,
Perfect.
yeah.
So now the question arises, when we use a macro kind of photography, so which gears we require basically? Which gears we require?
Usually we need the macro lens, which is like a
Macro
kind
lens.
of standard, yeah, zoom lens, and with that any camera like either is crop sensor or full frame camera should be fine, but mainly the macro lens.
Perfect. Macro lenses which is required. And the second thing, when we actually capture, so that time macro lens gives you an uh, magnification. Correct.
Yeah.
So there are certain stops of a magnification, like a two-stop magnification ratio, basically, which we say a magnification ratio for an image. So some lenses have magnification of 1 is to 1, 1 is to 2, 1 is to 3, 1 is to 4, or 1 is to 10. So when the magnification ratio is 1 is to 1, that's the reason when we capture ants or maybe a very small insect, but in your image it appears too big, because of which you can create a very big canvas image for those subjects, right? So now here what I was using basically, this image I was roaming here and there, and this was a nursery place, so there were too much flowers and all, and that lakeside house which was there, lakeside house right now we saw. So besides that lakeside house, this particular flower was there, and it was a, we can say, early morning, so there are droplets which are available, small droplets on the flower I got. So same camera now, 7070 crop sensor, 18135 mm, which is a lens, and my lens has a aperture. Lens was having an aperture limitation of 3.5. So at 18 mm, I can go only up to 3.5, and after at 55, sorry, at 135 mm, I can go up to 5.6. That is my limitation. So if it is possible for you, can you write it down? So we will
Yeah.
understand how I overcome those limitations. So the first thing, I was using a crop sensor camera using the 18135 mm lens. 18135 mm lens is there. 18135 you can see, and below that you write it down at 18 mm. Okay, at 18 mm I will be using aperture 3.5, 18 mm 3.5, and 135 mm 5.6.
So 18 mm with 3.5 and 135 mm
135 mm which is the
with
5.6.
5.6. Yeah.
Correct. So now, if I actually see the gear which I am using, I will not be able to capture the macro image, macro shot first thing. Correct. So how we can get certain kind of shots using the 18 mm lens. There is some technique which we have to follow, because when you have a limitation in your gear, you can easily get a very good result if you know the fundamentals correctly. Okay, I'm not saying I know the fundamentals 100% correct, whatever there in the entire one, but whatever we learn, that learning should be clear to you. So now you do one thing, below that line, write it down, depth of field fundamentals. Depth of field fundamentals. Correct. So depth of field, what exactly it becomes, Hariji? Depth of field means in your particular image, whatever the subject is there, that subject should be blur,
In
subject should be in
focus.
focus, and background and foreground should be in blur. Right? In our last image, have we gone through the PDF in the depth of field in last image?
Yeah, yeah. We
Perfect.
went through
So
that
exactly. So you know
one
what we have
stop
learned.
and yeah, yeah,
Correct. So the first thing was a focal length. When the actual focal length will be small, that time I will not get a much more blur background. But my focal length is big, larger focal length. That time the chances are there I will be getting a blur background. Correct. That was the first rule of a depth of field. So here I use that particular rule. So what I did, I tried to capture this particular shot with the 135 of a focal length, not a 18 Okay. So the first thing how I overcome, I captured this shot in 135 because of the 135 when we are actually shooting, so that time we will get a proper image, not a distortion, because 18 we will get a distortion, but at 135 it becomes a telephoto lens. So that time we will not get a distortion in our image. So we are getting proper, we can say, aspect of your subject. So this was the first thing which I did. Second thing, it was a nice sunrise kind of shot. There was too much light in the surrounding. So I tried to capture with the ISO 100. Okay. Second setting, can you write it down for me? ISO 100. Okay. ISO 100, which is the setting. So now we have two factors. First one, that is the uh, what I told you, focal length. Focal length, which is the 135 Second thing, ISO, I was using 100 Correct. Now tell me, at 135 what was the aperture I can get maximum in my lens? What can be aperture value
at
at a width?
135, right?
Yes, 135 5.6.
5.6. Yeah.
Correct. I cannot go less than the 5.6. That is
Yeah.
the limitation. So 5.6, I kept an aperture. Okay. I was using an aperture priority mode. Aperture priority mode. In that aperture priority mode, what happens? Aperture priority mode, your aperture will decided by you, and shutter will be taken by the camera. Shutter will get decided by your camera. Correct. So I kept aperture of a 5.6. Now my camera was giving me shutter speed of around 1 by 100 and 1 by 120. More than that maybe. I don't know exactly, but around that particular was the range. So it is a handheld shot. I'm using 135 focal length. My shutter speed is around 130 or 140 or maybe 120. So I can get a proper motion freeze here. So this problem got solved, motion freeze. Now, how I got this blur area in my image? So I shown you two particular objects. When we have the lowest aperture, that time we get a maximum blur background. Correct? So 5.6 is lower for me that time because I was not using a different lens. So two particular factors are now in the place. One is the focal length. Second one is your aperture. Correct? Now, which is the third factor, Hariji? Can you let me know?
The
Which is
ISO.
the third factor? Sorry?
ISO.
No. In a depth of field concept,
Okay.
Depth
Okay.
of field concept, three factors are there. First one is your aperture, which actually decides by the decide your depth of field. Second one is your focal length, and third one is your focusing distance.
Yeah.
We'll learn, right?
Yeah.
So here, what I did, you understand, you remember what is the rule for focusing distance in a depth of field? What was the rule we actually learned in the last lecture? If you are using the less focusing distance, then you will get a much more blur background. But if you are using a far uh, like a more distance with your camera and subject,
Yeah.
then big focusing distance, then you will get a blur sharp image. Correct.
Yeah.
So here what I did, I was using a 135 mm. I I went close to the subject, which is possible for me, whichever is possible for me. So around maybe 5 to 7 inch, or maybe around more than that, 8 to 9 inch was the distance between me and the subject. Okay, so distance is less. That time, what the rule says, you will get a blur background. So that's the reason I got this blur background. You can see these particular two flowers which are in focus. I focused on these two particular flowers. Now here this curly flower which is there. There is another flower which is there. But now this particular flower is not in a focus. So basically these two flowers are only in focus. Though these flowers are also a part of this particular tree, but this particular tree, but here you can see there is a much more blur background which we got captured.
Yeah.
Correct. So now here you can see there is a blur background
Yeah.
because now the background was too far. There were other trees, but those trees are were around the 15 to 20 feet away from your subject. So
Okay.
there is another one thing which we learn: your subject and the background, that distance again gets calculated. So now, say suppose if you are shooting to me right now from the 2 feet away, and if you want to shoot, but now I'm close to the wall,
Mhm.
I'm actually taking a support of the wall. So my wall will also appear very clear in your image, correct? But if you want to capture me with a blur background, so you will have to ask me to come forward. Now you can
Mhm.
see my camera is focusing on the wall, become
Yeah.
blur. Now
Yes.
one is actually becoming now clear to you.
Yeah.
Same thing happened over here. We actually tried to capture this particular shot. So I played with the first of all, that is the focal length. I shot around 1 by 35, 135 mm. This was the first tool which we bypassed to the our hacking. Second thing, aperture we used 5.6, because which was a limitation with my lens, and I was not able to go less than that. That is the second thing. Third thing was the aperture, sorry, a focusing distance. I played with the focusing distance. So in focusing distance, I went closer to the camera, closer to the subject, and because of which I got a very clear sharp subject in my image, and simultaneously there was a background which was far away from your subject. Correct.
Yeah.
So that's the reason this particular nice bokeh you can see in your image. Perfect. So what exactly learning we learn over here? If you have any particular lens using these three fundamentals, and if you actually have those three fundamentals, you can capture a very nice blur background in your image. So now, which lens do you have, Hariji?
Mhm.
Which lens
I
do you have?
have actually I have Nikon lens set of the lens that I have 14 to 20 24 mm and 20 mm, and
14.
then 20 mm to 70 mm and 70 to 210 mm.
Perfect.
Those three
Three
setup.
lenses you have. So now what you will do in the whenever you will get cell, you will use these three fundamentals, okay, fundamental hacking, as using these lenses, using all the three lenses which you have, all the three lenses you will try to capture certain kind of shots.
Okay.
So your macro photography. Say suppose if you are using a 24 mm, 14 24 mm, So that time again you will be able to capture a very nice blur background in your image. Correct. Second, same thing if you want to capture 70 to 100 mm slow lenses, just that at 200 mm you will shoot, not a 70 mm. That is the first thing. Correct. So what we learn over here, using these three fundamentals, you can actually bypass the depth of field limitation in your camera or your subject. Okay, and then you can easily you can click, right?